Hey guys, welcome to Lacave Inside. This series is all about the transition from Grand MA2 to Grand MA3. That means it may also help beginners, but we mainly created these tutorials for experienced MA2 users who are working on consoles every day since years. We first start with a basic introduction and an overview of Grand MA3 and then do a deep dive in every function a professional programmer needs every day. This will be split into several videos to provide you a better accessibility. Marcus, it's your turn.
Well, thank you, Laura. In this first episode, we are going through the whole process, how the Grand MA3 is working in general, and what has changed from Grand MA2 to Grand MA3. So that means the tree structure in the patch, of course, fixture-based geometry, the recursive selection, all about grids. How are the sequences running now on Grand MA3 in comparison to Grand MA2? The Swipey 2 and 3 finger multi-touch functions, the menu button. What is the difference in timing for programmer and for queues in comparison to Grand MA2? And what has changed for the effect section? It's now called phaser. Hey guys, and welcome to Lacave Inside. In this episode, we are making the transition from Grand MA2 to Grand MA3, the basic instructions. So let's jump right in. General overview of Grand MA3. What are the main differences in between Grand MA2 and Grand MA3? I'm showing you all the things on the on-PC because it's much better to capture the screen of the on-PC than to show it on a real console. So let's have a look at the on-PC. In general, you see, the color theme has changed a little bit, but that is not we need to worry about. You can see these new items over here, so we have a very fast and easy access to the main functions we need. For example, this is the menu button, so we come to the menu over there. These are our command section overlay hotkeys. This is here the master controls, so we have things like the Grandmaster, World Master, Highlight Master, all the new master things we have, same as some Grand Raid Master, Speed Master. You can find everything over here, as well as the well-known programmer time, executor time, which we all know. Then we are going to our playback control. This is the new playback window where we can see all our queue status and as well as we can change them. So we can move the faders over here, we can move the rotaries, we can click the buttons or push the buttons. And last but not least, the custom master section. This is the master section of Grand MA3. Here we can configure our displays, which we want to show in the Grand MA on PC software. Good. This is basically the main layout. We have got some additional features here on the on PC. We can toggle here our command wing bar overlay. That's very handy, as well as the add bar. In the add bar, we have some functions we need very quick accessible. The menu button. The menu key is a really handy tool because you have all the functions now inside this tiny menu, and it's really a quick access or a quick way to access all the functions you need, like the patch, the network, the in and out, the DMX protocols, the settings, and so on. So menu button is a cool improvement. Just one thing to know, you can also double tap the menu button for a quick save. If you have a look here at the button below, it is doing like you would expect on the Grand MA2, backup, press it twice. This is a quick save. What are the changes in the patch? For this, I'm going to jump into the patch right now. So we click the menu button, and then we have here the patch and the live patch. These are basically both the same as we all know from Grand MA2. So the main patch is something where we need to spread our whole show file when we did some changes. The live patch is something, it is, yeah, changed live. That's why it's called live patch. Good. Let's have a look at the main patch window. First of all, we see it looks a bit different, but trust me, if you take a few minutes and get familiar with that, it is really, really handy and it is much more powerful than the old patch on Grand MA2. So for this example, I've created here some Mac Vipers, which I'm going to show you most of the functions. And here I have created some additional folders. These are called grouping fixtures, and this is where the magic of Grand MA3 begins, because in Grand MA2 we only have the ability to separate all the fixtures into several layers. Here in Grand MA3 we have a lot of more options how we do the patch and how we order or how we align our fixtures to handle them for the programming. So let's have a look what I did here. Basically, I created, first of all, a grouping fixture, and inside this grouping fixture, I created 8 fixtures of the Mac Viper. The cool thing is that even our grouping fixture can have a fixture ID. So for a very easy access, I don't need to call the fixture 701 through 708. I simply can call the grouping fixture 70. So I think I want to give you a quick example. If I'm doing something like this, normally let me close the patch. Normally I would do fixture 701 through 708, for example. And then I can bring up them to full and maybe can give them any position. Like this. Now, I can use the new function and simply type in fixture 70. And that means it is the grouping fixture. So if we have a look here at the fixture sheet, now I haven't selected any fixture, I have selected the grouping fixture. And that means I can handle this also as a normal fixture. So when I do it on full, you see all my fixtures inside this grouping fixture get the value of 100% for the dimmer. I can of course use the pan and tilt function to control the fixtures. And now I press align and do on left and right, and you see the align function is not working. Why? Because I have only one fixture selected. And this is here because of the grouping fixture 70. So when I want to go deeper into every fixture, I need to press the down key. So this is new. I press down. And now you can see I moved up from fixture 70 into the folder, and now I've selected fixture 701 through 708. And now I can use the align function as I know it. So press align, and then I can spread it out or pull them in. And so I have the ability to use both worlds, the best of both worlds. For example, when I want to make a change for the color for all fixtures, then I simply type in fixture 70. Now I can select the color red, for example. Let me bring them to full and a little bit up that you can see them better. So maybe orange, yellow. So this is now all applied to the whole grouping fixture 70. So trust me, you need to work a little bit with the grouping fixtures and normal fixtures, that you can figure out when the one is better than the other and when you need the grouping fixture or the fixture themselves. But if you're getting familiar with that, it is really, really powerful and very smart and fast to work with it. So let's jump right back to the patch. for our quick overview. We have the ability to use it as kind of the same in Grand MA2. So we can enable here split view. And now I have a right hand side and a left side. In the left side, I can show you some items like fixture types, DMX universes, ID types, filters, layers, classes, and the hierarchy. So that means when I want to see all my fixture type of, for example, the Mac, let me move that a little close. So the Mac Viper profiles, I select them, and now I click this button over here, and now you see all my Mac Vipers inside the show file. The same for my Impression S350. You can see these are the fixtures here in the whole show file. Or for example, the FR1. So these are all my FR1s patched in my show file. So this is really, really quick to filter in the patch for some fixture types. I can also do the same for DMX universes. So when I want to show all my fixtures which are on DMX universe, for example 4, then I press 4, press this button, and now these are all my fixtures patched on universe 4. It is getting really powerful when you work with CAD software and you are using and importing maybe GTF files. So it contains all the layers and all the classes you have assigned before to the fixtures. So in this case, I can use the classes to filter on. So now I have created this patch here in Vectorworks, and now I can filter for all my classes FR1. Or maybe for all my Vipers, or whatever. So this is really, really powerful. It's getting even further if I disable the split view and I enable the filter option. Now I can filter for anything here I need. So for example, if I'm looking for the fixture 623 through 627, I simply need to press in this search key, and I have now the fixture 623 to 627. This is very handy, especially if you are using a large show file, a large show, and you have hundreds or thousands of fixtures and you're looking for a specific fixture, then this is really helpful for you. Basically, the view of the patch is almost the same as in Grand MA2. So you have got the fixture IDs, the type, the name of the fixture. You can have any modes over here. This is cool because you can easily swap modes now. So if I press on this and I want to have a 16-bit extended, I need to simply click on it and then I have changed the mode. This is the DMX patch. Here is the layer, which is the fixture assigned to, the class of course. We have here the pan and tilt offset, as we also know from Grand MA2. We can invert the fixture over there to the DMX and to the encoder. The position, so the 3D position of the fixture and rotation, the same as the scale. New is the appearance one, so I can give any fixture an appearance. I like to use the appearance function a lot, especially for the patch, because you can see very easily which fixture type is inside this group. For example, like this. The fixture types themselves have been improved very, very much, because on Grand MA2 a fixture was only based basically on the DMX modes, on the DMX patch, on the DMX addresses. On Grand MA3 the fixtures are now based on their geometry. So the console know exactly where the source of the lighting is inside the fixture, where are the motors located, and if a light is moving or any fixture is moving, so the Grand MA knows exactly where the light source is, where it comes, where it goes directly. This is very cool for further improvements and for further programming, trust me that. Okay, the next thing is recursive selection. So basically I have done a small tutorial about this, so I want to go too deep in that stage for recursive selection. Okay, a quick example for that. I'm using fixture 801, bring it to full, and turn the tilt down. So now I want to select all my LED fixtures of that fixture. I simply press in 801 point through. And now you can see in the fixture sheet over there, I have now selected 801.1 through 801.20. That means I now can bring them at 0, hit the next button and say full, and now I've got my first item selected and bring that to full. Next, full, next, full, next, full, next, full. So this is a very cool function where I can get into a fixture element. For example, if I want to control all my LED bars and only the first and the second pixel of that, I'd press 801 through 804.1 plus 2. So that brings me only the first 2 pixels of all my 4 LED bars. The recursive selection is not only for fixture handling, it is also for presets, also for macros. In any cases in the Grand MA3, the recursive selection makes sense. Now let's come to the grids. Grid is a very handy function, and trust me, we all know grids since Grand MA1. Because if I make a selection, the console remembers how I did this selection. So for example, I type in 701 plus 705 plus 708 plus 704 plus 703. And now, in this order, I have selected my fixtures. When I press the next button, first comes 701, the next is 705, because I selected 705 after 701. Then 708, 704, 703. So this is nothing new for you, because you're working with that every day. So this is but the grid function in BASIC. Let me show you another example. For this, I'm going to use now the grid window, fixture window and a grid window. By the way, it is now a cool function that I can set the size of my window by pressing and holding the finger or the mouse button. So I can easily now tell the console how I would like to have my window. So now I'm going to use the selection grid, and I'm going to turn on programmer. So that means I'm now here on selection grid 0/0. When I select my first fixture, 701, this is set up to the grid position 00. Now the next one is moved to 10. So that means when I now hit fixture 705, 705 is positioned on this grid place. Now I hit 708 and it's now placed here. So this is all we know from Grand MA1 and Grand MA2, of course. So the cool thing is I want to have gaps in between, and just to make sure you have the auto remove X gaps disabled. And now I can set up a fixture on this position. So for example, 802. And I want to have a fixture on this position here, now on the 8th position, that should be 703. And now when I'm going to step through with the next button, I have 701, 705, 708. Then there are 3 gaps, then the 702, 1 gap, and then the 703. So to get even a little bit more into it, I show you the grid command. There is a new grid button. When I press the MA button, you see here the grid button on the X3 key, where I can specify any location in the grid. So for example, I say grid 2/5. Now my cursor is moving to this position 2/5. Oh, sorry, I've clicked with my mouse. Let's do it again. Grid 2/5. Now you can see that it is now on position 2 in X and in Y direction on position 5. So that means when I type in now 701, this fixture is located on this grid position over there. Another example, if I want to bring the fixtures to the grid positions of 0/0 to 3/0, then I can type in grid 0/0 through 3/0. Now I have selected this range in the grid, and now I can press 701 through 704, for example, and these fixtures are located here in the grid. As you can see, these are now basically selected here. That's getting useful when you have maybe a matrix and we say we only have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So I'm going to select grid 0/0 through 1/3. Now I have selected this range, and now I can set up my fixtures like 701 through 708. Now these are arranged here in that grid. And the cool thing is, when I hit the next button, now I'm selecting all in the same X position. So that means my left side of my matrix for this example, and my right hand side of the matrix for this example, if they would be arranged like this in my stage layout in real. It is a real game changer if we have a stage layout, for example, like this. Fixture 701 located over here. Fixture 702 on the second truss. Fixture 703, 704, 705, all on these trusses. Fixture 706 on the first truss. And now fixture, let's say 707 on this position on the third truss, and fixture 708 on the third truss as well. So I basically have one truss, another truss, and another truss. And now I can set up this on my grid position. So that means we first start with fixture 701. We just type in fixture 701. Now I can go to this position and say 702 through 705. Now I'll jump back to this grid position, 706. Now I'm going to my third truss. It is 707. And this is 708. And now this configuration could now be saved, for example, as a group. So I simply bring in a new grouping, a window. Let's scroll for a free item, for example, this one. To store a group, we can press the store button, or simply we can just use our finger or the mouse, select an item, hold it, and now we have stored it. So this is a very easy way. I'm going to clear this out and now hit this group again, and now you can see it is like we have stored it. So the cool thing is now when I press the next button, I have this first fixture. Next button, we have these two items, then these, these, and these. What is the advantage of this? The cool thing is now, when we have arranged these fixtures in the real world as the same in our grid function, now we can spread it out as if it would be only one truss, for example, with the align function. So that means a perfect alignment of my pan and tilt values. The same as for color, for dimmer, for whatever, for all types. The next thing is running sequences. We are all used to in MA2 that the sequences basically running on our executors, on the fader, on the buttons. In MA3, yeah, I know that in MA2 you can also start a sequence from the sequence pool, but basically the most thing we are doing is that we are going to start them from the executor. And it is still running on the executor on MA2. On the MA3, this behavior has changed, so all of my sequences are running only in the sequence pool, and the executor is just a control instance for that separate sequence. I'm going to clear first of all the screen, and then I'm going to hit pools sequences. And here you can see all my sequences are running from the pool. When I go to the playback, you can see, yeah, my executors are controlling these sequences, but they are running inside this window. So for example, if I'm going to create a new one, just long press, and we've got created a new sequence. I'm going to hit the go button, and I'm going to go this sequence. Now I'm going to assign this sequence 53 to an executor. So the same command as we all know is assign sequence 53, and then, for example, we are going to use this fader. And now you can see the sequence is even running because we have started it here from the sequence pool. I'm going to hit the off button and then the sequence. And now you can see the sequence isn't running anymore. When I press the go button here on that executor, and I'm going to change back to the sequence view, you can see the sequence is running again because I've got it from the executor. So in general, you can say the executor is just a remote control for our sequence pool, and every sequence is running from that sequence pool. So for example, if I'm going to copy the sequence with the copy command on the executor, so I hit copy, then this button and this button, and now you can see when I'm going to use the fader, these are two different executors, but if they are referring to the same sequence, they all have got the same properties. This is very, very, very important for MA3. In some cases, you would like to have the same queues, the same values from the queues, but different status from the queues. So for example, I'm going to store some queues into the sequence. So I hit store Q2 through 5, hit the sequence, and when I make an edit, so I press the edit button, you can see I have now Q1 through 5. So I'm going to start this sequence now by hitting the go button. We are now on Q2, Q3, Q4. And maybe I would like to have the same sequence here on the next fader, but with a different queue. Then we can do that also. I'm going to open up the sequence pool. And now I'm going to hit the assign button. Or it's even quicker if I press and move my finger, and then this new Swipey menu comes over. And here I can say assign. This is the same as I would like to press the assign button and then click on that sequence. So now assign, and now assign this to a new sequence. And this is now a linked sequence. So that means all the queue information, all the values are coming from sequence 53, but it is a new playback. So now I can assign this playback onto my executor 207. And now you can see I can move the faders individually and even with different queue status. So if I press here this button a few times, for example, now I'm here on Q2 and this is on Q4, but they all have the same queue informations, the same values. Let me show you a quick example how this is very useful in your daily work. We are creating a first sequence with, for example, 5 queues. I say store Q1 through 5, and then hit maybe the sequence 51. If I make an edit of that, you can see it's Q1 through 5. And now I'm going to create sequence 52, and sequence 53. And now I want to go sequence 52 on the first queue and sequence 53 on the second queue. So I just can type in on my command line, go sequence 52, go sequence 53. I'm going to assign all of them now to my executors. So I'm going to switch to a new page. And I would like to have sequence 51 assigned to my first executor, then sequence 52, and then sequence 53, because I like it. So now I type in assign sequence 51, hit this button, assign sequence 52, hit this button, assign sequence 53, hit this button. Now when I press here the first queue, you can see sequence 52 is triggered, and when I press the second queue, sequence 53 is triggered. That's nothing new, but the new cool stuff is now I can move my faders. For example, I press the move command and then move this up to this one. Say off this executor, off this executor, off this executor. And now press the first thing. It is working. And now press the second thing. Now sequence 53 is also working. Even if I moved it, that's because I'm not triggering the executor, I'm triggering the sequence in that case. So this is really, really handy because we all know the problem. We have programmed our whole show and now we need an additional executor, but we don't have any spare executor right now. So we start to move them and now we have to think about which executor is triggered by another executor and which is not triggered. So if we do it like this, we have no problem anymore. As I've introduced you before, Swipey is very handy because you can almost use it on every element. For example, on my position, I pull down the finger and move it a little bit, and now you can see the Swipey menu, where I can simply use this store function. I can use the label function, delete, move, copy, assign, and edit settings, or edit in base of which element I'm using. This makes it really, really quick. Just use it and try it out with your finger, and you can see that your speed is going to improve very much. Another new thing is now the timing control in MA3, even for the programmer or for some temp buttons or temp faders. So let's start with the timing in the programmer. For example, I'm going to use my fixtures 701 through 708. Put them on, tilt them a little bit to the front, so you can see it better now. And now I'm going to set up a delay time for the dimmer, an individual delay time. For this case, I say delay 0 through 1. Hit the please button. And now when I type in at 0, you can see that this delay is applied on my programmer. If I say at full, you can see they're coming from delay 0 to delay 1. This is basically also working for the fade time. So maybe we are going to use a fade time of 5 seconds. And now I hit at 0. You can see the delay is applied and the fade time is also applied, and that's all in my programmer. The timing for my playbacks, especially for the temp button or the temp fader, is improved very much. Let me show you an example for that. So I'm going to use fixture 701 through 708, and I'm going to use that delay we have applied already, or we do it again. Say delay 0 through 1. Now let's check it out. At 0, it's working and add full. This is working. Now I'm going to store this onto my fader. So hit the store button and hit the first fader. 3 times clear for the programmer. Now I'm going to assign this fader and temp fader. I'm now hitting the assign button and now the button of the fader, in this case that one, 702. And I'm going to change the master fader to my temp fader. And the cool thing is now, if I'm moving my fader, you can see while I'm moving, the delay time is still applied. Let me show it over here. So it is calculated in between the temp fader, so that means the full 1 second is when my fader is fully up, 0 second is when my fader is down, and now all the timing is calculated in between. So that gives me a new possibility of great effects which I can do now. Yes, we all know our effects are gone, but we got the new phaser possibility. So what is phaser exactly? It is basically an effect engine based on, kind of steps we can create our own. Let me show you a quick example of a small phaser. I'm going to use our fixture 701 through 708, put them on, and now I'm going to use another step. To create a second step, I'm going to press the MA button and the next button. And now I've created a second step, as you can see it here, step 2. And in this step, I say my fixtures should go to 0, at 0. And now you can see that the fixtures are now starting the phaser from the first step to the second step, in this case from 100 to 0. And this is all, it's quite running. So the possibility is now that we can do everything we could do on our effects, but with even more steps. On an effect we only had a high and a low value, or a middle and a center, and size of the effect. And here we have now the ability to use more steps. Let me introduce you to more steps. I'm going to use fixture 701 through 708. And for this example, I am using a color. So use the color picker. For the first color, it should be red. And the position should be a little bit more to the front. So like this. So I'm going to create the next step, MA next. I now want to use cyan. And MA next. The third step should be blue. And now you can see the phaser is now running into 3 steps. First the red, then the cyan, and then the blue one. We can stop this by pressing that button here, single step. So that means I'm now in step 3. I can go back with MA and previous, or hit this button here, and so I can step through all my steps. So step 1 is red, step 2 cyan, step 3 blue. Let me show this here. Red, cyan, blue. And the cool thing about this one is now, as it is working kinda like an effect, I now can apply also phases. So I can hit the phase button, and let's say I want to apply a phase from 0 through 360. And now these 3 steps are separated here from 0 degree to 360 degree. So this is a very, very cool way to create, quite all possibilities of effects we would like to create. The phaser possibilities also allows us to make even very, very quick changes. For example, I've got these buttons, and when I click these buttons, you can see this item over there. So that means when I'm doing now some changes, I'm change all of the 3 steps. Speed and phase are always applied to all 3 steps because all the 3 steps could be only be in one speed and one phase. But I can also use the items acceleration, deceleration, transition, and width. And let me show you what this can do. In that case, the transition is to 100%. That means I have got a fade from step 1 to the next step. When I bring that to 0, you can see it now. I've got hard cuts in between. Let me just show you this example with an even easier step. 701 through 708. Put up the position. And now I'm going to use the color yellow. And for my next step, I'm going to use the color magenta. And now I hit this button and say transition to, in the color, of course, say transition to 0. Now you can see a very hard edge in between the steps. So this is the fastest possibility a step the fixtures can do. Now let's apply any phase. And we're done. We can go even deeper in this, and that makes sense if you are now working with good groups with especially grid commands, because now we can also use the MA3. For example, I can say a wing of 2 and let's say a phase, and now they're doing stuff like this. I can also use groupings, as we all know before. In this case, I'm going to the matrix again, hit reset, and I use the X grouping function. So I'm using X groups, and let's say phase 0 through 360 again, and now I have a grouping of 2. Maybe grouping of 3. It's a grouping of 3. So all the basic functions we already know from effects we can use now on phases. Okay, that was a basic introduction into the world of MA3 if you are an experienced user of MA2. With the upcoming videos I show you every function and what the MA3 can do in detail. So stay tuned. If you like our videos, please don't forget to like that you show us that we should create more content of that. And of course subscribe that you know when we are bringing out some new videos. See you next time, bye bye.